In Siman Kuf Tav Kuf Yadalit, we're talking about putting out and lighting fires on Yom Tov. And this is a major issue because sometimes it's mutter and sometimes it's asur, right? Something that is either always mutter or always asur is very easy to figure out, right? Something that is sometimes mutter and sometimes asur, right? Then you have to figure out where the guidelines are. And the Beis Yosef on the סימן is particularly long and sometimes filled with debates among the Rishonim. So we start. Asur לכבות הדליקה ביום טוב. You're not allowed to put out a fire on Yom Tov. Afילו רואה ביתו שנשרף, even if you see your house is burning down. Asur לכבות הבקעת, you're not allowed to put out the beam, let us say. בין אם מכבה מפני שחס עליו שלא תשרף, whether you're concerned it itself not be burned. בין אם מכבה כדי שלא תתעשן הקדירה, or you're concerned that not make smoky the food in the pot. ודווקא כשאפשר להצילה מעישון בלא כבוי. This is only whether I can save the food without putting out the fire. כגון שיסירנה מעישון. זה ויתננה עליה תשרף. I take it from here and put it someplace else. אבל אם אין לו אחר, I don't have any place else to put it. ואם לא יכבנה תתעשן הקדירה, and if not, the food in the pot will be destroyed. מותר לכבותו. Then you're allowed to put it out. כדי שלא תתעשן הקדירה, so that the pot not be damaged. Meaning, the heter of lighting, one of the basic criteria for lighting a fire on Shabbos, well, where the entire heter for lighting a fire on Yom Tov, sorry, not on Shabbos, of transferring a fire is because of bishul, is because of the ochel nefesh. And once we're allowed to transfer a fire for ochel nefesh, we're allowed to transfer it for other things as well. All right, if it's l'tzorech Yom Tov, if it's a need of Yom Tov. And similarly, sometimes putting out the fire, if it's necessary for the food, that's part of the din. It's part of the basic halacha of ochel nefesh, of being allowed to be preparing food on Shabbos. So if my food's going to be destroyed, and I can't save it without putting out the fire or turning down the fire more often for us, right? Meaning, it's very common on Yom Tov that a woman wants, or a man wants to cook something in a relatively high heat, right? And then it has to sit for a little while on a lower heat, right? So for that, you're allowed to turn down the flame because the lower flame, right, is what I need right now to make this thing work. Before we had, gas and electric stoves, people couldn't do this, right? I mean, if you had the fire in your stove, the fire was in your stove. You couldn't adjust it the way we can. The people had other ways of cooking, but we can't do these other things anymore. We don't remember how to do them. Afילו אם צריך לכבותו כדי לשמש מטתו, even if you have a light burning in your bedroom and you want to put out the candle so you can have marital relations, not allowed to do that. ואפילו לטוסו כדי להצטרחק השמש, even to shemen, even to lean it so that the oil is far away from the wick, so it will relatively soon burn out. Also, it's prohibited. Da'af ze chashuv kivui, because this is also a way of putting things out. V'asur likach psila miner hadaluk. You're not allowed to take the wick out of a lit candle. Remember, their neros, we translate it as candle, was an oil lamp, right? An oil lamp with a wick in it, right? Like many people do with a Hanukkah menorah, right? With using olive oil. And if I take the wick out of the lamp, the wick will continue to burn for some time, right? Until there's no more oil in it. Right? It will burn the whole thing up. Mm-hmm. Afילו litna b'ner acher, even take it from one light and to put it in another one. Shari mad k'shmotzia mechave osa, because when you take it out, you dim it. He says you completely put it out. I don't think you completely put it out, but it might be that you can't move it around. I'm not an expert at moving around wicks from oil lamps. It's not something
you do regularly.
That I don't think any of us living in a modern country do this regularly. I'm sure the Beis Yosef and all the Rishonim who discussed this at length were very used to the idea of moving things from one oil lamp to another, right? I mean, they do occasionally talk about wax candles and the differences in halacha between a wax candle and the oil lamp, right? But for us, we don't, this is not, I would have to, sit with a couple of oil lamps and play with them to
understand what they're saying.
I understand what they're saying, to understand the depth of what they're saying. And what does it matter if I light it later? Meaning, the fact that I'm putting it out now so that I can light it later, that's not very helpful. They do say that lighting a wick that has burnt already is much easier than lighting a wick that's never been burnt.
Yes.
So they do talk about, as a preparation on Yom Tov, or for Yom Tov, to prepare wicks by burning them a little bit and putting them out, so that later when you're lighting the candles for the lights for Yom Tov Sheni, right, they'll be easier to light. They weren't so concerned about the lights that someone's going to light for Yom Tov Rishon, because that's done on Chol. It's not a Chol, what do I care? There is an interesting discussion, by the way. Meaning, we're not as used to things getting dark at sunset, right? We have electric lights burning, and they burn all day, and they burn all night. We leave them on, even in the States, when we had 3 days Yom Tov, right? You leave the lights on Erev Yom Tov or Erev Shabbos, when you're going to have 2 days before or 2 days after of Yom Tov, before or after Shabbos, right? Your house stays lit. You don't need the Shabbos or Yom Tov candles to have light at dinner, right? I mean, they look nice, but
that's not
where we're getting light from. But if you think back to a time when, and you see this in Rishonim and early Achronim, before we had electricity, that they would light lights all over the house. Every place they needed light. And then they'd say the bracha on the last ones that they lit, right? So in that time, the question comes up, it's already getting dark. I can't see well in all the areas of my house, right? So the woman wants to light her lights for Yom Tov Sheni 30 minutes before sunset, right? So that she has light in the house, right? Is this mutter to light at that time, or does she have to wait until the evening? Right, now we say, if you look at our calendars now, every shul in the States, here it only occurs on Rosh Hashanah, right?
Don't light before.
Right, don't light before. Yeah. But the vast majority of Rishonim say, if she needs the light now, she can light now. Now, it may be, therefore, that it's only if she needs the light now, right? That therefore she can light. But we don't need the light, right?
Is that why Rav Ovadia holds that an electric light you can make a bracha over that?
It wasn't only Rav Ovadia, it was long before that. You see you see Chuvas going back as long as there was electricity, whether you could use electric lights for Shabbos lighting. And I think the initial ones, everyone allowed it, at least for the lighting in your rooms, right? Many people said that you should light, you should keep the minhag of lighting something. And so most poskim initially didn't want to abandon the idea, for one reason or another, of lighting some candles. During the Second World War, it came up in many of the ghettos, whether I can light an electric light that they had in the ghettos, a woman can use that and say the bracha over it. It's a very similar shaila of whether you can use electric lights for Hanukkah. And most poskim at the time said yes, although people afterwards started saying no. I mean, the shaila comes up also in a hospital. A woman's in a hospital. Right? Candles. She can't light hospitals. They can't light candles. Or in a hotel. Many hotels want to light, right? In your room. Because it is a fire. Like you can't light there. So can you use the electric lights? Right? All of these are in those related type shilas. Wax candles. Ner shel shava. You have a wax candle. By the way, Tosfos says you cannot use wax candles for Shabbos candles. Just an aside. No one paskins this way, but Tosfos does have that opinion. L'adliko b'Yom Tov. I want to light it on the Yom Tov. V'chas alav shelo yisrof kulo. And I don't want the entire thing to burn up. Wax was expensive. Yachol litein svivo davar hamonea milisrof. I can wrap something around the wax candle that won't be burnt. That will stop it from burning past this point.
So let's say a rock, a stone candle holder that now keeps it from burning.
Or wrapping a piece of aluminum foil around it, something like that. Binyan shegia sham the garam kivui mutar. That it will cause it to go out when it gets to this point, because causing something to go out is mutar. I'm not allowed to do it directly, but I can cause it to happen. Ner shekava, a light that's gone out. Mutar lachtoch rosh psila. I'm allowed to cut off the top of the wick. Kadeshe noach lahadlik, so that it's easy to light. Meaning, if a little bit is burnt, it's easier to light. If you have a lot of stuff that's completely burnt at the top, right? You don't know where the good stuff is anymore. V'lo chashiv tikun mana. It's not to consider them fixing something. Vodavka k'shrotzei lachzir l'adliko bo b'layla. It's only if I want to light it tonight. Avo b'leil sheni shel Rosh Hashanah v'ken b'leil Yom Tov el achar haShabbos asur l'adlik shari psila shekavu b'rishon. There you're not allowed to. On the 2 nights of Rosh Hashanah, the second night of Rosh Hashanah from the first, or on the night of Yom Tov following a Shabbos, I'm not allowed to use something that went out on the first, because that's a type of preparation. Because it's been prepared on the first day to light on the second day, and I'm not allowed to prepare for Shabbos for Yom Tov, or for one day of Rosh Hashanah for the other. Mechin b'Shabbos liyom tov, v'asur. It's preparing for Shabbos liyom tov, which is asur. V'im lo hidlik v'nichba me'erev Shabbos.
Can you go back to that moment?
Yeah.
I'm missing something. You used a flame on Shabbos.
Yeah.
It went out.
And
you can't use it again on Yom Tov?
I can't use the same wick on Yom Tov because the going out of the wick is preparation for making it easier to light on Yom Tov. Not everyone agrees with this, but this is a machlokas rishonim, whether this is true or not. But
do we paskin this way?
We don't. I don't even. I actually have no idea, because we don't use oil candles, right? We use wax.
No, but like everything else, we take this to further places. Like the electric light is not fire, but we still use the fire as the base for whether we can use an electric light on Shabbat and how we do it and this and that. But it's not fire.
Well, wait. I don't want to get into that. An electric light that isn't an incandescent light. Most poskim today seem to accept Reb Shlomo Auerbach's psak that it's uvda dechol. It's the way of doing things on a weekday. He says if you could start using electricity, it's not fire. He doesn't say it's fire. He doesn't say it's fire.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to.
Okay, that's it.
Maybe sometime we can have a series of shirim on the halachas of electricity. It's a very interesting topic because it covers everything in the world. all the things that electricity can be used for, right? And how that affects different types of halachas. Perush, ain't tzarich lo. I don't need it. Asur lahadlik. Aval shel beis haKnesses lo chav shel batala. But lighting a extra candle in shul is never considered lebatala. Meaning, to light a candle during the day of Yom Tov, right, is something that I do not need. By the way, I could make an argument from the Rishonim on this, that the basis it brings, that today a woman cannot light Yom Tov candles on the second day of Yom Tov. Right? Meaning, because on Yom Tov, during the day, have enough light, I'm not allowed to light a candle then. Right? So therefore, at night, Leil Yom Tov Sheni,
I have all the electric
I have
light.
all the fire, I have all the light I need, right? The narrows over here are giving me absolutely nothing. Right? So why is it mutter? I'm not going to go there because all the women in the world would kill me, but I certainly think there is an argument to make. However, in shul, the reason why we light all the lights that we light in shul, I mean, even today there are many places in front of the chazan, right, that you have you have lights. You light the candles in front of the chazan. Right, and there's the Zohar and Parshas Pinchas about the flame going up to God. There's tefillah should go up and so. But we say that's for kavod of the basic Knesset. It has nothing to do with needing the light. Right? It's just kavod basic Knesset that the lights are lit there. So I'm allowed to light them. And there's a huge debate, by the way, among the Rishonim. It was a shaila asked to the Rashba, and he said no, and other people argued with him that the shamash of the shul after mincha on Yom Tov, they daven, mincha gedola, so 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon they finish mincha, and he wants to clean out the lights and relight them, but there's going to be no more davening today, right? So the Rashba says no. If no one's going to be there, you can't do it. Whereas others argued with the Rashba and said, no, what are you talking about? The Rosh Tosos said, what are you talking about? The reason for the light in the shul, right, isn't so I can see. It's for covered basic Knesset. And covered basic Knesset is always a chiyuv, therefore he should be allowed to do it. Anyway, this is a whole debate. And one could argue that the woman lighting Yom Tov candles on the second night isn't for light, it's for kavod. It's for kavod Yom Tov. Right? So, the kasav vi adoni harosh sal. So my father, the Rosh, wrote.
You're using kavod, isn't the Gemara about Member say that one of the reasons lighting candles for Shabbos is for onig Shabbos?
Yeah.
So why are you saying kavod?
Because oneg you will get just by having light in the room. It's a special kavod also for Shabbos and Yom Tov, that we don't want only the electric lights in the room. We want the burning candles. That's my svara. So the Rosh wrote in the Tshuva, Shemuter lahadlik biyom rishon be'erev l'tzorech leil sheni. In the afternoon, on the first day, I'm allowed to light for the second night. Afילו biyom tov sheni be'erev. Ve'ein b'zeh mishum ein yom tov meichin l'chol. Even on the second day of Yom Tov in the afternoon, and you're not preparing from Yom Tov for a weekday. Shemiyad be'alakato yesh mitzvah la'oso shah. Because as soon as I light, I've got a mitzvah for right now. Shebekol shah afilu b'yom yesh mitzvah ladlik neros is haknesses. Here he's saying, not at home, but in the shul, there's always a mitzvah to have things lit, right? It beautifies the place, whether people are there or not. I mean, they didn't think about the fire hazards. Now the fire department would object because you can't have a flame without someone looking after it. And so, By the way, I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, we have become in many ways more sensitive to death. To death. Because, it used to be 4/5 of people died before they were 20, right? I mean, death was, people often had lots of children and they'd be lucky to see one or two, right? Outlive them. It's just a reality of what life was like. So, Ein nostim ner al gabe ilan me'erev Yom Tov, dachashin and shema yavo yishtamesh b'ilan. You're not allowed to put a light on a tree on Erev Yom Tov because someone might come to want to climb the tree to get to the light. I'd say there are other reasons why you might not want to do this, but we have similar things, meaning we're not supposed to put on Shabbos and Yom Tov something in the Erev Shabbos or Yom Tov, I should say. Erev Shabbos or Yom Tov, something in the tree that someone may want to play with, right? Because someone's going to climb the tree. If you have kids around, right? Someone's going to want to climb the tree if you put something up there. Ein pochsin haner. You're not allowed to reduce the light. Perush ner shel cheres ba'odo rach. What does this mean? I have a pottery candle, right? That's still soft. Kmo beitzim shel yotzer, like the eggs of the potter. They used to make clay into balls the shape of eggs and keep them this way a little bit damp until they were ready to use them. You press a little bit with your hand to make a place where you can pour stuff. I can't do this in Yantiv. I'm making something.
With warm wax is not okay.
Playing with warm wax, playing with Play-Doh, right, is not okay. Ein chosim pasila l'shnayim. I'm not allowed to cut a wick in two. They didn't want to waste their wicks. If we have a long wick, who cares? It's not a...
Hey, we get a full wick with every candle, who cares?
No, but I'm saying even if you wanted to use oil. By the way, Rabbani Drukman did an interesting thing. She had these relatively large things that she would fill with oil and put the Shabbos candle in it, floating in it, and light it, and they would burn until Motzi Shabbos. That's how she lit her Shabbos candles. Aval befi shnei.
They had for Hanukkah candles. Sometimes they had these things you put oil, and then you had something which would float on top, and that's lit.
Yeah. Aval befi shnei neros shenostim base roshaha befi base aneros, where you put one wick in each one end of the wick in each one of the lights. V'tzarich ladlik shnehem. I have to light both of them. Umadlika be'emtza. And so I light it in the middle. Now, if I light it in the middle, the flame's going to cut it, right? And so one wick's going to end in each one. Matir harif. The rif allows such a thing. Having this becomes this is very, very long in the Beis Yosef, with almost every Rishon taking a position on this, whether I can do this or not, or whether once I've put the two wicks in, I can cut it with the scissors. But if I don't want to write both of them, the only reason why I'm putting both ends in different lights,
They're using it all.
No, because I want to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
I only want one light. I'm only putting it in both so that I can cut it. Look, that you're not allowed to. And the Rosh says, even if I need two lights, and I'm putting it in both, and I'm going to light it to cut it into two, no. V'lo godlin oso, v'lo mechavavin, and I don't make it larger, I don't play with the flame. I don't know exactly what these things are. There are different things that they did with their lights. Perush larchicha, to burn it. Kadeshide nocha lahadlik, so it's easier to light. Aval imahaisa gedola kavar, it's very large. Ela she'enu kasha kol tzarko, but it's not hard enough. They used to spin their flax into this stuff, each wick by hand. Yachol lamacho biyada, you can you can twist it or press it together with your hand. To make it hard. V'yachol l'shrosa b'shemen, you can soak it in oil. Umuter lasir hapechem shebaroshanir, I can remove the extra coal that's at the tip of the wick. Kshu dolik, when it's lit, ve'afilu b'kli, even with using a scissors or whatever. Afal pi shnofeles laaretz, even though it's going to fall down. V'kavsa, and when it falls, it will fall down. Ve'arambam zal oser b'kli, and the Rambam says you can't do this with the kli, you have to do it with your hand. V'lo nira lavi adin rosh, and the Rambam's opinion did not appear correct to my father, the Rosh. Now, I want to go back to the very, very beginning and discuss it a little bit more. They talk about the house burning, and there is a much longer discussion in the Beis Yosef, bringing the various Yishanim on this. If my house is burning down in Yom Tov, let us first say, if it is within 50 amos, 100 feet of any other house, then today you're certainly allowed to put out the flame so it doesn't spread any place. But let's assuming it's more than 100 feet from any other house, and there's
Got a wrench.
and you've got gravel all around your ranch house, which is very common because they don't like the mud, right? And no rancher is going to maintain a lawn because they've got too much stuff to maintain anyway. So they got gravel all around it, so it's not going to
travel.
It's not going to light anything else. So if I have another place to go on Yom Tov and I can take out all the food I need for Yom Tov, right? The halach is I would have to let this house burn. I'll take my other stuff into my other place and stay there for Yom Tov. However, if you don't have a place to stay at all, that's like ochel nefesh, right? It's just like you're allowed to do all sorts of malachas to be able to have the food that you need on Yom Tov. So too, if I need to put out this fire in order to have a place to stay, I can put out the fire to have a place to stay. It's interesting that in Shabbos that wouldn't be a need, right? Because ochel nefesh, you're not allowed. Ochel nefesh doesn't set aside Shabbos, so it wouldn't. Having a place to stay wouldn't set aside the salach on Shabbos either. But for almost, it's very difficult for me to imagine a place other than living on a ranch, right, where the possibility of causing other things to catch on fire that could lead to a sekanas nefashos in one way or another, that you're not allowed to put out a fire. Now, there are madregas of this. Like, the Mishnah Berurah says, he also agrees that, if the time's going to burn down, you can put out the fire. But he says, if a candle falls onto the tablecloth and sets the tablecloth on fire, he says you don't pour the water directly onto the fire. You pour it on the tablecloth around the fire.
It's like
Right? It's a grum.
in Shabbos.
I'm talking about Hilchos Shabbos.
Right.
Yeah, because that will put it out. Having said that, if it's already so large, right, that putting the water around it wouldn't put it out, then you're allowed to put it out. If you can, you may.
Theoretically,
Yeah.
if you don't find any of that therein, and you let your house burn down, are you allowed to file insurance?
That would depend upon your insurance policy.
No, I'm talking from a halachic perspective. You'd be
Yes, because it was.
You'd be gaining. You'd be making sort of money on the fact that you. Like the Torah doesn't take a cheshbon, you're going to lose your shirt. There's nowhere I heard that. Oh, that's it. If my house burns down, I have no place. Even if I have a place to go on Yontif, but if my whole fortune is in that thing, I've worked 50 years. The halacha doesn't take that to cheshbon. So now I'm going to go and file insurance based on that. When I just let, you know what I'm saying? It seems like I'm missing it.
You're not required to give it up. The issue is the oneg and kavod yantif that's involved with this, not the.
No,
not
I'm saying
the
if I have no way of getting around it, and I let my house.
Yeah, I
burn
understand.
to the
So,
ground.
but that doesn't mean you're not allowed. That doesn't mean you can't recover it. You can still recover it from the
Insurance isn't
insurance.
about making a profit.
Yeah,
Or it shouldn't be.
you
It's
could
not
make
making
an
you go after
argument,
loss.
by the way. You could make an argument that you can't get insurance because you should trust in Hashem. Whatever Hashem does. If I'm supposed to have it, I'll have it. If not, if he wants to take it away, I'll
Should
take
you
it
give insurance in
away.
general or?
No, I'm saying one could make an argument.
No, in that, when you say one could make that argument, you're talking about
In general.
insurance in general.
In general,
Yeah.
maybe someone shouldn't have insurance. Just be. By the way, the Amish don't have insurance. Right?
Yeah, but I don't see a bunch of my neighbors helping me rebuild my barn either.
That's because you don't live in the country.
Even in the country these days.
No,
I
that's
don't
not
see
true.
that.
There's still barn raising now. There's still barn raisings. All right, everyone should have